Coming to you live on the 91 freeway, heading out east towards Riverside, Corona, Chino Hills. I've got a listing appointment this afternoon at 2 o'clock, and I just wanted to have you join me on another drive here in Southern California Perspectives. Thanks for joining me on the channel. Please like and subscribe. It helps me to continue to put content out there, this content, and hopefully more that you enjoy. Today, it's a little overcast. It's only 66 degrees right now. We're kind of post-holidays and post-storms right now here in January. Welcome to 2026. Happy New Year, everyone. I wanted to talk a little bit about when you are a buyer and you are considering purchasing a home, what do you do about finding out what kind of neighbors there may or may not be at a given property? Well, it's a good question, one that actually literally just got brought up by a buyer I'm working with right now. We're submitting our first offer together. I met him a couple years back at an open house, and he's very detail-oriented and super analytical and thoughtful, which I appreciate because, they tend to be buyers that are maybe a little bit more sure of their decision because they do their homework. And one of the things that came up with this buyer is he was wondering, is there a way that we can find out how the neighbors are, what they're like, while you're in the process of buying a home, or even right before you submit an offer on one? And it's a good question. I typically can't really get involved in the legality of talking to the neighbors and kind of asking them, what they're like as neighbors necessarily, because that could possibly get into sticky types of conversation that might be inappropriate for my license and what I do as an agent. But for me, I don't see a problem with you as the buyer being in the neighborhood and possibly asking casually, asking neighbors, asking what it's like living there and such, and seeing if you can get a perspective from that point of view, because it's a free country, and that of course shouldn't be an issue with anyone needing to go and find that information out. But yeah, we're still cruising on the 91 eastbound, running into some traffic, as tends to be pretty common here in this corridor, going through the hills and such. But yeah, all in all, finding out about neighbors is a good idea. Now, you never really truly know until you live in a given spot, even if you did the homework of, talking to the neighbors, maybe talking to them at open houses or what have you, or even going and knocking their door and asking them, what's it been like, living here, yada, yada. You don't really truly know until you live at a given spot, and I would say at least for a few months to really get a barometer as to, what's it truly like. But, it does make sense. Do you ever go to someone's house, a friend's house or a family's house, and maybe they have neighbors that like to jam out rock and roll and play drums and guitar and on amplifiers and electric guitar and bass and all that, and maybe audio and singing and all that? When you have neighbors like that, that might tick off certain people, certain homeowners and buyers, right? Or, maybe you've got neighbors that are just inordinately loud, that can really upset buyers as well. So, all in all, it's important to, oh wow, they're doing road work up here, so it looks like the lanes are closing down, which that's never a good thing for the 91. Good thing I'm very early for my appointment, going in the area, picking up a lockbox from a former listing. But yeah, finding out about your neighbors is a good idea if you can. Just because you just really don't know. Another thing I like to recommend that some of my clients have used in the past is it's kind of a good idea, if you have the time, to go check out different parts, like drive the track to the neighborhood, the community, the HOA, drive the area at different points of the day, because if you can do that, that can allow you to see what parking might be looking like, or how trafficy it may or may not be, like when school's getting out around between noon and 3 o'clock, depending on the kind of schools you're around. Doing that kind of due diligence is very helpful, because then you'll be that much more familiar. Obviously, if you've ever lived in the neighborhood you're buying, that would also help as well. But all in all, just keeping an open mind as to what the neighborhood or community could look like at different points in the day is a good idea, because as you know, like after 5 o'clock tends to be more cars will be home because people are off work. On the weekends you'll see more cars usually because people are off work, and even with work from home, you still see those trends in a lot of neighborhoods, unless there's like plentiful parking and huge garages and stuff. But all in all, we're just getting our way here into Corona, California. Really cool city that it really sees a ton of people coming from Orange County, because Corona carries a lower price point here in San Bernardino County, and it's more accessible than a lot of Orange County price points are. And so Corona, it's also a fairly younger city, depending on what part you're in. Obviously, there are younger and older housing tracts like most cities, but all in all, this area off of Dominguez Ranch and coming along here off of Green River is a great part of town. It's been established enough here to where it reminds me a little of the Anaheim Hills area, where a lot of the tracks that are about that age, so like built in the 1990s and such and early 2000s, they're usually generally good quality build, and they've been around long enough to where the landscaping's more mature, and you've got neighborhoods that have been there for a good couple decades, so you don't have as much newness as you would in like a new construction situation, like in the city of Eastvale, not far from here, or Chino Hills, that has good lots of newer construction, even just the city of Chino alone too. So all in all, it's a great place to consider living, and if you're feeling nostalgic, wanting to take the drive here on Green River, I'm glad you've joined us today. Join me today here on my drive on Southern California Perspectives. Buyers, do your homework. It's worth it. And in this market where it's more balanced and homes aren't flying off the shelves as quickly as they were 4 or 5 years ago, it's worth it to do your homework, because you might discover something that might make that home not quite the right one for you. And maybe we can find something that is a little quieter, or in a gated community, or that might fit your needs slightly better. Whatever it may be, I'm game. I would love to talk with you and connect. Thanks for joining me again. Please like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.